Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. We're very excited to be here joined by a couple of colleagues from Belmont Abbey College to discuss our new partnership with them on a dual credit program. Let's go ahead and start off with prayer first. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Remember, O most gracious Virgin Mary, that never was it known that anyone who fled to thy protection, implored thy help, or sought thine intercession was left unaided. Inspired by this confidence, I fly unto thee, O Virgin of Virgins, my Mother. To thee do I come, before thee I stand, sinful and sorrowful. O Mother of the Word incarnate, despise not my petitions, but in thy mercy hear and answer me. Amen. St. Maximilian Kolbe, pray for us. St. Ignatius of Loyola, pray for us. Father and Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Start with short introductions. My name is Everett Boyarsky. I'm the Academic Services Director here at Colby Academy. That's roughly equivalent to Vice Principal for Academics. I've had the pleasure of working with Colby families and students and our partner colleges since 2008, coming up on 15 years. It's been a great blessing to do so. And one of my favorite things that we do is we have the opportunity to work with some of the great Newman Guide recommended Catholic schools, which is who we're joined by today. Colby Academy was founded back in 1980 by three families in the Napa Valley who were unhappy with their local schooling options. Trusting in the guidance of the Holy Spirit, they decided to open a Catholic and classical school. From that school, in 1987, the homeschool grew out, continued to expand and grow as there are people all over the United States and around the world who were seeking that same type of education of Catholic identity and classical education. We've continued to grow and prosper. In 2013, we added online classes for high school, expanded down to middle school and then to elementary school. And over the last 5 or 6 years, we've begun to investigate some of these partnerships, opportunities to really work with the kinds of schools that we want to have our students able to attend. Our parents have chosen to sacrifice to provide this Catholic education for their students throughout their upbringing, oftentimes K through 12. And we'd really like to see students go on to enroll in some of these wonderful Catholic colleges. And we're very excited to then also opportunity, and we know a number of our students also like to take some college courses while they're in high school. And in doing so, we'd really love them to have the opportunity to do those courses with the same quality Catholic schools that we've been partnering with, that they often go off to school with. And as such, as a result of some discussions this past spring with Belmont Abbey College, we're delighted to have our first offering of a couple of courses with them this fall, and looking forward to expanding those offerings going forward. But with that, why don't I turn it over to Ms. Teresa Peets and Martin Oakwin. They can introduce themselves briefly and talk a little about Belmont Abbey, and then we can go into some more of the details on what dual credit is and how it works. So Teresa and Martin, over to you.
Great. Well, it's so good to be with you. My name is Martin Oakwin. I have the pleasure of serving as the Vice Provost and Dean of Admissions here at Belmont Abbey College. Also a happy Belmont Abbey College graduate and a product myself of Catholic education. And so we're grateful for this opportunity. Teresa, I will let you go ahead and introduce yourself as well.
All right. Well, thank you, Martin. So as Martin mentioned, I also work in admissions at Belmont Abbey College. So I am more specifically the dual enrollment counselor, and I work with students pursuing one of our 4 premier scholarship programs. So hopefully this will be a long-lasting relationship. I graduated from Belmont Abbey in 2020, and I was a part of the Honors College, which was one of our premier programs. So hopefully we'll be able to get a good sense of what dual enrollment is, and then of course, get to speak further on different areas should we have that conversation continue.
And for those of you who may not be as familiar with Belmont Abbey College, obviously you can see on the slide here, and as Everett mentioned, that we are one of the recommended schools in the Cardinal Newman Society Guide to Catholic Colleges, but we are the only Catholic college in the Carolinas. And we've been here since 1876, but we still feel sometimes as though we're the best kept secret. And so if you haven't been to Belmont Abbey College, or you're not as familiar, I definitely encourage you to learn more throughout this discussion, but then take a deeper dive into, our websites, our materials, sign up for our mailing list, because it's been, really a time of transformation and growth for our college community. When we look back to when President Thierfelder arrived almost 20 years ago now, to today, it has been a period of tremendous growth and momentum and kind of rejuvenation for our entire college community. And so even in the past few years here, we've continued to maintain all of the good things, our authentic Catholic identity and our commitment to upholding the call of Ex Corde Ecclesiae to what it means to be a Catholic college. But there's just been so much kind of growth and formation in terms of programmatic expansion. We've gotten into the online space. We would not have been having this conversation even a few years ago. But we've gone from probably about 16 undergraduate majors to over 30 in the last 5 years or so. We've expanded our dual enrollment offerings, which we're excited to share with you today, but we've also expanded on the other side in kind of the graduate space. And so now this fall we'll have 5 different graduate program offerings, all of those which have pathways, 4+1 pathways for students that are coming here as freshmen. And so many good things to say. We won't have time to talk about all of them today, but definitely excited to talk more on dual enrollment, and definitely excited to kind of continue this fruitful partnership between Colby Academy and Belmont Abbey, because we know we've seen kind of these students coming our way, and we value that so much. We just want more.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Martin and Teresa. And just for those of people who maybe you aren't familiar with the idea of dual credit or dual enrollment, just a little bit on the basics. So a dual credit program is a program where high school students will enroll in specific college courses. The colleges will receive credit, the courses will receive credit through that college or the university. And then high schools will grant high school credit, oops, the typo there on our screen, based on their dual credit policy. So at Colby Academy, our dual credit policy is that we typically grant 1 high school credit for every 3 or 4 credit semester length college course. And so those will be the types of courses that we'll be talking about here today. And so with that, I'm going to kind of pull it off of our slides, and we can just jump into the conversation a little bit. Initially, so if parents are interested in this, and the first place they should start certainly is on our, they can start on our website, and they click and we have a dual credit page, which we'll toss a link to there in the chat. They decide that yes, they're interested in dual credit. They go down and they click on the link under Belmont Abbey to learn more and to enroll now. What does the process look like, once they get to your page of, getting into the program to get up and running?
Absolutely. So on the admission side, we always need our students to apply to Belmont Abbey College. There is a question which is specific to you're applying for dual enrollment. There's another question that is specific to you're applying for online studies rather than on campus, and you're applying as a part-time non-degree seeking student. I can help you through that process if any students have questions as they're completing that, but that's kind of the basics in that regard. Once we have an application, I also need a transcript as well as a letter from a parent stating that the student has permission to dual enroll. And those can be sent directly to my email address, which will be included on the dual enrollment page. The dual credit page for Colby.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Teresa. And as far as the transcript goes for Colby students, that's something that you can just reach out to your advisor for. Your advisor will provide you a copy of the transcript, so you'll have that available, and then you can send it over to Teresa there at Belmont Abbey. So it's a pretty straightforward process to do that. For this fall, we're starting off with 2 courses, psychology and microeconomics. And we'll looking forward to certainly having some additional courses as we head into possibly the spring, and certainly next year. I know we'll have a number more offerings that we're excited and looking for. But I think one of the questions is, how do subjects like psychology or microeconomics fit into a Catholic view, kind of within your Catholic identity, and what could students look for to be able to, the advantages of taking such a course, there at Belmont?
Yes, so I know from my experience, I took a couple of psychology courses at Belmont Abbey, not as much in the way of economics. So Martin might be a little bit more helpful in the specifics there, but psychology is very literally the study of the soul, and that is how it is treated upon at Belmont Abbey College. Our chair of the psychology department himself, Dr. Gomes, is Catholic, and that is a huge part of how he brings his studies. And he also has a part-time clinical practice, and he also treats those who to come to see him in that way. So students are inculcated in the fact that the person is mind, body, and spirit, and that all comes into play with our psychology courses.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, for those of you who may be familiar with dual enrollment or even secular higher education, it's extremely uncommon to have a psychology, not just course, but program and department that are truly kind of committed to kind of upholding our Catholic identity. And I know that that's kind of what you've come to expect through Kolbe, and they're kind of keeping in line with the magisterium and their teachings, and that is kind of what you're going to continue to experience here at Belmont Abbey College. Similarly, in economics, when we look at the business side of things, our proximity to Charlotte, North Carolina means all of our kind of financial related programs are some of our biggest, most popular academic programs on campus. So business management, finance, economics, marketing. If you look at private colleges in the Charlotte area, we're the top producer of bachelor's degrees in those areas for over the last 10 years out of any private college. So with that, we do take a unique approach because of our Catholic identity. We're committed to forming ethical and moral leaders that are going to go out into the world. And so, just because you can do something, right, doesn't mean you should. And so when you approach a topic like economics, you're talking about, the ethics of economics and the decision making that goes into that. And so definitely, again, another program that's taught kind of in keeping with the Catholic tradition, but it's probably something that's a little bit new. I think these are kind of fitting into your curriculums as mostly electives, and it's great to start that kind of discovery and discernment now in terms of what you might want to pursue as an academic major or program, or even what type of career you might want to go into. And so it's just a great way to kind of knock this course out. Economics is going to be a required course if you go into any business related kind of program. And so if you can knock that out in high school, decide if you like it or not, then it gets you a step ahead when it comes to accelerating, potentially your timeline to graduation, or at least accelerating that kind of discernment. And maybe you're able to, select two majors because you're kind of earlier on that decision-making process. So a lot of great benefits.
Fantastic. Yeah, thank you so much. And Teresa and Martin said a couple of key things that I think are really why we're so excited about a partnership like this. The first one is talking about how Belmont Abbey teaches psychology courses and microeconomics courses and all of their courses from that Catholic tradition. That's one of the things that Colby has seen, over a number of years as students begin to explore dual credit options. It isn't uncommon that we might see a family who's had their student, and been homeschooling, K through 11, and the student is heading into 12th grade. They're looking to take some courses, and maybe they just look at whatever the nearest community college or college has for them. And parents may not even realize what a psychology course might look like in that environment. That many schools, colleges, and universities, the way they teach psychology is very much not in keeping with the Catholic understanding of what it means to be human. And that's why we're so just delighted to have an opportunity that we can partner with a great school like Belmont Abbey to say, if you're interested in psychology, or you think you might be interested in psychology, you want to learn more, and you want to learn more about what that might look like from a Catholic perspective, we'd love to have you attend and take a course like this. so you can really see what psychology can be. Because if you see what it is in the certain context, that it might be seen in your local community college, then you're gonna get a really different perspective. And that's I don't think that's not certainly not what we want. Obviously, that's not what Belmont Abbey is looking for, because they've designed these courses in a very intentional way to honor the Catholic anthropology. And then the other piece that's really wonderful is, as they're mentioning, this is an opportunity for discernment, that as students are trying to determine what careers am I interested in, what fields am I interested in, taking a course, if you think you might be interested in psychology, and many students are at least curious about that, taking a course like this as a senior is going to help you in that discernment process, whatever you decide to end up doing. Or if you think you might be interested in a business career, and there are lots of different fields within that, taking a course in microeconomics is a great way to just start to get a look at what that might be like, and if this is a good fit for you or not. So I think there are two pieces that are just really excellent. I see there is a question in chat about if the classes are online. Yes, so that's correct. These classes are online. These are online classes that are offered in partnership with Belmont Abbey. They do have in-person classes. If anyone lives in the immediate vicinity of Belmont Abbey and are interested in other opportunities, certainly Teresa could help you some more with what those opportunities look like. But the partnership is specifically focused on a couple of online classes, because Kolbe students are all over the United States and around the world. As we're doing that, I know that at Colby Academy, we've seen a lot of the benefits of our students taking dual credit courses, college courses there in high school, as far as preparation for college, certainly strengthening their transcripts and their college applications. But maybe could the two of you talk a little bit about some of the things that you've seen as far as benefits that students have received as they've done some of your dual credit offerings?
You want me to go first?
Go for it, Martin.
Sure. So one of the biggest kind of benefits that I see, in addition to kind of career exploration and discernment, because I do think that one's really, really critical, is like the savings and flexibility. And so, these courses, they are steeply discounted from what you could expect to pay as a degree-seeking student. And so getting them up on the front end can be a great savings in that. And then it also, unique to those students that enroll here at Belmont Abbey, if you actually, become a degree-seeking student here at the college, we credit all the tuition payments you've made as a dual enrollment student to your degree-seeking kind of tuition bill. So you kind of get that money back in a sense. And so there's two benefits there. And then really the biggest savings is the flexibility and the potential acceleration of your timeline towards graduation. And so we know, kind of working in college admissions, that students and families are increasingly averse to kind of taking on overwhelming burdens of student debt. Nobody wants student debt. They want to avoid it at all costs, and we understand that. In fact, the biggest way to avoid massive student debt is by graduating on time or shortening that timeline. We see it, increasingly common where students are, I just take, a fifth year or an extra semester, and they're not, necessarily planning for that on the front end. And it comes with a pretty hefty, price tag when you're looking at a full semester or a full year of college education tagged on. It can get very expensive. And so by taking, credits on the front end and transferring those in to whatever school that you go to, it can, potentially, depending on how many you do and how many you're able to accumulate, it can take a semester off or even a year off of your kind of timeline towards graduation. But at the very least, it adds that flexibility into your course schedule. So that if you have to, if you change your major multiple times, or you have to withdraw from a class for any reason, you've got that kind of backstop that keeps you on track, so you're not extending the finish line. So there's a lot that goes into kind of cost savings when it comes to dual enrollment. The last benefit that I'll mention, and then I'll turn it over to Teresa in case she has others, would be there's no test at the end, right? And so I know that those of you, maybe you have other kind of college credit ways of earning college credit by taking an exam. That's high pressure and high stress, and it comes down to all of your work comes down to, a score on an exam. And so dual enrollment is kind of the safer option for earning college credit. Typically, if you earn a C or higher at the college level, I know you guys are all going to make A's, but typically if you earn a C or higher at the college level, that's going to transfer to any accredited college or university as a transfer credit. It only impacts your GPA at the institution that you've earned that credit typically. And so if you make C's, then your GPA is going to be a C GPA here at Belmont Abbey. But if you transfer that somewhere else, they're just going to count it as a transfer credit and doesn't typically impact your GPA. Some things to keep in mind there.
Yeah. And then I would just add, the personal connection too. So especially for our students who dual enroll at Belmont Abbey and then attend Belmont Abbey as a full-time degree seeking student, you've already formed a part of your community. You've already had a couple of our professors. You've already been working with some of our students. And so you get to build some of those friendships right even before you start your college career, really. And I think that's exciting because it becomes a lot less daunting to feel like you're starting all over again after high school. You won't have that problem as much.
Wonderful, thank you. And again, I think, and one of the benefits to all dual credit programs, and not just this one with Belmont Abbey, is just the ability to take 1 or 2 college courses before you're in college, so that you don't find yourself starting off with 4 or 5 college courses in your first semester. It just can help you hit the ground running, that you have an understanding of what it takes to do a college course. How is a college course different than a high school course, and different than whether it's our homeschool course with Kolbe or the online course with Kolbe. Certainly our experience has been that Kolbe students are very well prepared for college and have done well, but it's a different experience. Having that environment is a different experience than being in high school. And so it's a great way to get even 1 or 2 courses is a great way to start that off. And just to echo one of the points that Martin said, not only do you have the value of potentially accelerating so that you don't have to pay as much tuition, or at the very least reducing the chance of having to pay additional tuition, say in a 5th year. The other piece is just on the economic side, you also have the value of potentially entering the workforce a full year earlier. So not only are you cutting tuition payments off, but you also have the ability to, or at the very least, help ensure that you're entering it after that 4th year, not a 5th year. And 1 additional year of earning power in a career translates to a substantial value over time. So the ability to prevent having to take a 5th year is great. And should you earn enough credits that you can take a semester or a full year off, again, that's really an extraordinary benefit, something that you can do. And the great thing here is the partnership like this, that you can do it by taking courses that are going to be right in line with what you've been doing with Kolbe all along, which is really great. So I see that we've got a few questions coming in kind of throughout here as I've been going through them. Let me make sure we get those pulled up and addressed. One of the questions was just verifying that psychology and microeconomics are semester-long courses that would receive 1 high school credit. That's exactly correct. You take the 1 semester course with Belmont Abbey. They would send a transcript back to us. You'd have them send a transcript back to us after you're done, and then we'd be granting credit for that course. And all college courses will come into us with the benefit of a weighted GPA. So we do offer a 5-point weighted GPA. So college courses, an A in a college course count as a 5 instead of as a 4. So there are benefits for your transcript there as well. Question about if dual classes are just for senior students. My understanding is they're available for sophomores, juniors, and seniors who are in good academic standing. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, you do not have to wait until you're a senior. For sophomores, I'd be a little cautious just to make sure that your student is mature and ready for college coursework. But for the right student, it's certainly doable. And then as you get into junior, senior year, that's a great chance. And again, that's where we're looking to continue to expand some of our course offerings in this partnership over time. There's a question, can student take any intro-level Belmont Abbey course online for dual credit beyond the ones we highlight? So for this fall, it's starting off with just these 2 as the online courses that we have available, I think right now in the partnership. But again, if you're local, you can definitely take local courses. They've got a whole bunch of them. And the plan is to continue to expand kind of what those offerings look like as far as availability goes. Teresa, do you have an additional piece there?
I do. So yes, there are the main 2 courses of economics and psychology, but for any of our 1 or 200 level online courses, we do also have availability for dual enrollment. So, some such courses are, we have a rhetoric course, so that's composition and writing. We also have 2 theology courses. So there's a scripture course and an introductory classics of theology. There's a couple others. So there's some history, some literature, fine arts, even with music appreciation. So I'll be able to send a full list for any students and families who are looking to get to know the program better throughout the application process.
Okay, thank you for that, Teresa. Appreciated. Let's hear another one of these. So this was more of a question about the graduate programs. I know, Martin, you spoke briefly about this, and this is probably a little bit off topic. Do you want to just touch very briefly on some of the graduate programs you do have? And then I know you guys will be coming back to join us during our college fair, coming up later on this year. So that's something I know we can dive deeply into, but maybe you want to just do a quick summary of a couple of things you might have available there.
Sure. So our graduate program offerings this fall will include a Master's of Business Administration, a Master of Arts in Leadership, a Master's of Science in Data Analytics. I currently offer a Master of Health Administration and a Master's of Science in Nursing, or MSN, with a leadership concentration. And so, stay tuned. I think that's been kind of a growth area for the college, and we anticipate offering more for the fall 2024, but those are our current graduate program offerings. And I will say that all of our undergraduate program offerings have pathways into this. And so even if you're, majoring exclusively in the great books, but you want to, kind of go into and pursue an MBA, or like we actually have a student this fall that is doing that. And so there are ways to make sure that you pick up the necessary prerequisites, do the 4+1 pathway, and potentially leave Belmont Abbey College with 2 degrees. So
wonderful. Thank you so much, Martin. Another question, there's a question in chat asking about costs. So that is available on our website. But Martin had mentioned that it's steeply discounted. It's $126 a credit. Which if you have any experience at all with the cost of higher education right now, you're going to recognize that is a substantial discount on what a college course would normally run you. And so that really is a phenomenal offering that Belmont Abbey has for our students through the partnership. One of the questions, and toss this over to Teresa and Martin, would be
also just wanted to briefly mention, since I was on an email thread on this, we did increase the discount, so it's actually it's $108 per credit hours now. So I don't want you to miss out on kind of those extra dollars, particularly when you multiply them times 3. So that's, normally our kind of per credit hour course is for dual enrollment students even is discounted. It's at $180, but for Kolbe students in particular, we've discounted that to $108, which over the course of a 3 credit hour, course, that means, $324, $325. So it's a steeply discounted, and so just excited about that. So
wonderful. Thank you for that catch, Martin. That's right. We missed that and hadn't gotten that updated on our website. So absolutely, again, and that's a special thing that Belmont Abbey agreed to do in partnership with us, again, for Kolbe students. So I mean, a huge thank you to them for doing that. And again, that is really an incredible discount for college credits available. One of the other questions was about the dual credit nature of these courses. Obviously we have high school students who are taking courses. How does the interaction with other college students in those courses work? These courses are not specifically just high school students. They're interacting with other Belmont Abbey students. How does that typically go?
Yeah, definitely. So I think one of the nice things is, you are very much connecting with the campus community, with the professors, and with current students. Some of those are going to be high school dual enrolling students, like yourselves. Others will be degree seeking students who are also pursuing their degrees fully online. But I think one of the benefits there is that your student is always always treated, it has definitely a good bit of support. We'll have an academic advisor specific to the dual enrollment program. So especially in the first, class or two, I would definitely say that would be Taylor Rosenberger. And she is just an amazing person to be able to walk students through the transition to college courses. But yes, definitely forming a relationship with professors from the very beginning, and letting them know this is your first course always helps them on the front end to help you as well directly, and help you connect to the larger community within that class.
Yeah, I would just kind of echo that, there's kind of no special treatment or anything like that. It's a college course, and the expectations that kind of we're kind of delivering students kind of a college level course. And so, definitely encourage students, if they are struggling or having difficulty, to seek that assistance. I think one of the great benefits of kind of experiencing college level coursework at the high school level is that you have multiple layers of support. If you have a support network, whether that be, through Kolbe, through, your family, whatever support network you have in place, don't totally abandon that. If there are things that have worked for you, that's something that we want to be communicating with our advisors, with our faculty about. One of the big differences between high school and college is, a student's ability to advocate for themselves and communicate. Know that our professors are here and they choose to work at Belmont Abbey College and teach at Belmont Abbey College because they value that same kind of personal connections, personal relationships. These classes, even though they're online, they're not going to have more than, 20 students in them, 25 students in them. And so it's just because it's online doesn't mean, 60, 70, 80. These are small kind of intimate course settings where the faculty member is going to take the time to get to know you, your strengths, your areas for improvement, and work with you, and hopefully have you in class again in the future. So don't hesitate to reach out. I know sometimes that can be intimidating. Parents, please encourage the students to reach out. That's just a great skill set to be instilling, that ability to kind of self-advocate at the college level. It's critical to your success, once you're here degree seeking, and so it's great to get that started kind of right from the get-go.
Wonderful. Thank you. Absolutely. And I think, and you guys even kind of anticipated my next question, was asking about that support piece. I think that's one of the things that again, we're very excited about in this partnership, is that Belmont Abbey is committed to the success of students in a program like this. And so they have, in addition to the support that all of Belmont Abbey students have, they also have that specific additional aid for dual credit students who are kind of just beginning this journey. Which is really fantastic. And I love the point that you made there at the end. And this is something that, even at Colby Academy, we try and do as well, is really encouraging students, especially as they get up into their junior and senior years, is to be working to take on that role of self-advocate. It fits right in with our goals of self-mastery, is to really begin to take charge of their education, to learn those essential skills. So I think that's absolutely fantastic. There was a couple short questions. One question was if you need to take both psychology and microeconomics to earn a high school credit, or if they're one each. So it'd be one each. So each course is an independent 3-credit course there at Belmont Abbey. And Colby Academy's policy is that we would award each of those 3-credit courses would receive 1 high school credit. So if you chose to do both of these courses, you would have 2 high school credits coming to you, and those would be counting as academic electives towards your graduation requirements. Which is one of the things. There was an elective spot on our graduation requirements, so that's how those would be fitting into those graduation requirements. One of the questions was about workload and comparing college courses to an AP high school course. This is a little bit of a dicey subject at times, but I think one of the pieces that I think Martin had mentioned early on is one of the advantages to a course like this, as opposed to an AP course, is that college credit is not based on solely on completing a single test at the end of the course. And so that's one really major difference. And it also means that the AP test, every college has a different policy for what they'll grant a credit for. Some colleges will only grant credit for a 5 on a certain test. Some will have granted for a 4. And all of that's going to vary. So that's one major difference. The biggest difference, though, is going to be an AP high school course that takes place over an entire school year. where a college course is over a single semester, but they're receiving the same amount of basic high school credit. So that's a couple of initial points, but toss it over to Martin and Teresa if there's one or two other things you might like to add without getting wading too deep into the rest of the AP discussion.
Yeah, I mean, my response would be like, if you're asking in terms of rigor, that's the intent, right? That AP courses are at that college level rigor. I think it depends, depending on your experience, and if you have experiences outside of Kolbe, and it varies, right? Because it's not a perfect thing, and that's why there is the exam, to make it kind of uniform. And so I think everything that Everett says stands true here. But generally, if you're asking about the rigor and kind of expectations, the timings a semester, not a year. The rigor of kind of coursework and content probably fairly similar, whether it's AP or college level, but you have that benefit of being able to turn in assignments, receive grades kind of along the way. You get assessments and feedbacks along the way, and so you're not shocked at the end of the semester when you kind of receive your final grade. You should kind of have pretty good expectation even going into the final assessment, whatever that might be for that course, where you're going to land. I find students tend to, particularly high school students, tend to perform more consistently at a high level in dual enrollment courses, and so you'd more consistently see A's and B's versus I've seen AP scores all across the map just because of that pressure of testing on a certain day at a certain time, regardless of what else is going on. So a lot of benefits to dual enrollment.
Yeah. And I think just from Kolbe's perspective, this is one of the, right now we do offer some AP courses ourselves. A big part of that is because, again, people see the value, they want to earn college credit. But as we continue to expand partnerships with Belmont Abbey and some of our other partner colleges, if we have the opportunity to be transitioning away from AP courses, certainly we would love to be less involved with the College Board and what's going on over there. And the other piece is, as Martin mentions, is just the value of taking the college course. It's different than taking a high school course that's AP and then passing a test. It just isn't the same learning experience at all. Certainly from our perspective, as we're evaluating coursework and students, we would evaluate a dual credit course as more valuable than an AP course when we're doing that. Which really takes me to my next question: is for students who are taking advantage of a program like this, who then apply to Belmont Abbey, what does that do for you in the admissions office as far as your ability to kind of review their application and work with them?
Yeah, so I would definitely say that it helps us to see that you've already been very successful in college, and again, you've already formed a relationship with myself and therefore the admissions office, and so it's lovely to be able to see you coming back. And I think what it also signals to me is, especially for the Premier Scholarship programs, having that prior relationship, kind of knowing what you're seeking earlier in your college journey, during high school, it helps me point you in the right direction to say, hey, these might be programs that would be a great fit for you, whether it's continuing with classical studies through the Honors College or Catholic Leadership and the Hintermeyer program, or even the arts. So I think those are two things that are specific to how I facilitate students and families pursuing dual enrollment.
And I think I would kind of a little broader answer to that question, kind of applicable across the board in college admissions, not just uniquely here to Belmont Abbey, but I think admissions officers are aware that we're reading applications from students with a variety of different academic abilities. I think one of the things that's consistently looked for across the board, wherever you're applying for, is that the student challenged themselves, right? That they had a rigorous course load. That rigor might look different for each student. We want them to be successful. And, we hate to see students in AP courses where they're failing. That's not a rigorous course schedule. That's too much. It's not right for that student. And so what that kind of rigorous course schedule looks like is going to vary per student, but we want to see students applying themselves and students challenging themselves And so dual enrollment is a good way of exhibiting that, particularly if you're, looking, for colleges that are more selective in their admissions processes. So it's always beneficial, to the extent where you can successfully accomplish it. And so challenge yourself, but also kind of know your strengths, know your areas of interest. It's not beneficial to pursue a course that you have no interest in just because it looks good. If you're not passionate about it, you're probably, going to really struggle. You can still be successful, but it's not going to be the same as if you find kind of a topic or a course area that kind of piques your interest, that motivates you to dig deeper and learn more. And so definitely apply yourself. Don't hesitate to take on a little rigor. But challenge yourself. That's kind of what admissions officers are looking for, to see that you're a motivated learner, that you're willing to kind of take on a challenge and be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. And as Martin says, that's been my experience working with colleges across the years as well, is that what they're looking for is they want to know, can students succeed in college? And great evidence of that is if you've already taken college classes and you have succeeded. And if you've done that, that's a really wonderful sign for any school that you might be applying to. Let's see, there's a couple of other questions. One of them was a question about having to be full-time or part-time with Kolbe to take advantage of these courses. While the partnership was kind of designed with the intention of focusing in on Kolbe's full-time students, that's something that you as an enrolled student with Kolbe can talk to your advisor about, and something that we work with Belmont on. There are definitely possibilities to partner with Belmont on a number of these things to make it happen. Let's see, one other one that was going before we maybe start to wrap this up. So the question was, what's the maximum number of college credits a student can have from high school when entering college and still be considered a freshman instead of a transfer student? So this is one of those complicated policy questions. We probably don't want to spend a lot of time with this, but I know, at least my experience working with a lot of colleges, is it isn't so much an issue of whether you'll be considering a transfer student or not a transfer student, but just where if you'll be considered a freshman or a sophomore. And usually what people are asking is, what they're really asking is, they want to know about financial aid. They want to know if they take too many credits, is it going to hurt their financial aid. So do you want to speak to maybe that end of it for the question, and we can more complicated questions can go to our advisors, so we can get into the nitty-gritties of that.
Yeah, one thing I'll mention is that I think policies on this will vary greatly from institution to institution. And so, and Teresa can kind of correct me if I get our policy wrong, because it seems to change. But one classification that I'll make is, there's a category called first-time, first-year students versus kind of your class level. And so really we'll take in as many credits as you can possibly earn. How they transfer in largely depends on what they are. And so, and what your major is going to be. And so if it aligns with our curriculum for the academic program that you're going into, then, we have students that kind of transferred in 60 plus credit hours. It can be done. But sometimes they transfer and apply directly to the curriculum. Sometimes some of those credits, if they're not aligned with our curriculum, they'll be counted as an elective credit. Now, you still, depending on your major, you need elective credits in order to graduate. And so those still kind of help you along and give you all those benefits that we discussed about adding flexibility, shortening your timeline, and stuff like that. At Belmont Abbey, if you're coming in with a considerable amount of dual enrollment credits, you're still fall into what we consider a first-time, first-year student. So you might not be a freshman, you might be a sophomore or a junior as far as how many credits that you've earned, but you still fall into that category of first-time, first-year, which would mean that you would live in first-year student housing. And the other kind of big one is it doesn't impact your eligibility for any of our scholarships or kind of premier scholarship programs or anything like that. I will say our honors college is a pretty rigid 4-year curriculum. So I'll issue that disclaimer, but our other premier scholarships, it doesn't disqualify you from eligibility for the honors college. It's just, you're probably still looking at 4 full years. Our other premier programs, you're still eligible, and it potentially shortens your timeline there as well. One thing that's new, that's kind of an adjustment to our policy, is that we used to say if you have over 12 credit hours, then you don't necessarily have to take our first year experience. course. We've changed that because we've recently revised our first year experience, and we see a great value in students kind of it's really a learning community where here at Belmont Abbey, where over the course of your first year, you're with a cohort of students that you're not just in that FYE class together, you're in 2 other classes. And so it develops kind of an academic learning community that we really want all students to be able to take advantage of. So unfortunately, you still have to take I don't know, it's not unfortunate, but I think sometimes there's grumbles about, oh, we have to take the first year experience, but I'm a junior, I'm a sophomore. We think it's really important. It's also how we kind of convey kind of the hallmarks of Benedictine education and what it means that, we're, a Benedictine institution in addition to a Catholic institution. So, yeah, Teresa, did I miss anything?
That sounds about right to me. I think that covers it.
Yeah, and absolutely. And that the general, as they mentioned, the policies certainly vary school to school on this, but the general description of the policy, as described, is what most schools will tend to have a policy very similar to that. Each school is going to be a little different, especially if there are program specific things, as far as how they transfer in and dealing with them. But really, if you want to dive into the specifics of your questions that are specific to you, certainly I'd start by talking to your advisor here at Kolbe, and they can talk through and kind of help you through figuring out what those things are. And from there, you're going to want to talk to an admissions counselor at whichever school it is you're interested in to learn what their policies are. So that's where you'd be in contact with Teresa at Belmont Abbey, who would actually be able to help you through the specifics of your case and how that might apply to you. Well, looking at time, we're starting to get near the end of it. I think one final question, and then maybe just open comments. So if we have students who are interested and they're excited to take some Belmont Abbey courses this fall, obviously we were coming up on the start of the semester, what kind of timeline should we be looking at to be clicking that Learn More and Register Now button to get from our site to your site, and then click that Apply Now button so that they can be really in a position to succeed in your courses?
Of course. Yes, so as far as the fall 2023 semester, it's going to definitely be on an as soon as possible basis. We are receiving applications as well as registering students for courses for dual enrollment as we speak. So the sooner we're able to do that, the better. Classes do begin on August 22nd for the online courses. So the sooner we can get started, the better. And then even for, if you're looking at a later semester, say, spring or next fall, our 2024 application is open as well. We won't begin registering students for classes until November for the spring. So those are some areas to keep in mind.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Well, I think certainly I know everyone here at Kolbe is really excited about this partnership and the opportunity this offers to Kolbe students, and appreciate the work that Belmont Abbey has put into supporting our students in this effort. Just any last comments from Martin or Teresa? And then while you guys are doing that, I'll toss out the contact slides so you know how to get a hold of us, how to get a hold of them if you have any additional questions.
Yeah, the only thing that I would say is kind of congratulations if you're here, you're on the right track, and just know that we've had many successful students from Kolbe over the years, and value this partnership and look forward to kind of continuing it for the years to come. But appreciate everyone kind of being here with us and the opportunity to be with you guys.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Again, stay tuned. So, right, if you're interested in taking those courses this fall, again, I would recommend trying to get that process started this week so that Teresa and her team can be helping you get up and running, kind of get all of those initial pieces taken care of so that you'll be ready to just hit the ground when classes start. There will be courses again starting in the spring semester. So if you already have a full course schedule for this fall, but would like to add something in the spring, that'll be available here, late fall, early winter, heading to November into December. And stay tuned. We're constantly in contact with them as they have some new program offerings and new courses, and so we may have some announcements over the next 6 to 12 months about some other courses that they're continuing to work up and they're excited to offer to our students. And then of course, come back and check them out again if you want to know more about attending Belmont Abbey as an undergraduate or as a graduate student and want to know more about the programs and offerings. Please be sure to come back and join us for our college fair, which will be coming up later on this school year as well. And they'll be back to talk to us more about everything there. Well, Teresa, Martin, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining us to talk about this program and for everything that you do for Kolbe students. God bless.
Thank you.